Hi, my name is Tim Mao and I manage the technical support team here at X-Rite. Today we're going to talk about connecting an instrument and calibrating your instrument when you're using X-Rite's Color iQC software. So let's get started. So we're going to open the software without an e-job, and it's going to ask me what kind of instrument I have. So today I'm using a CI64 UV instrument, which is generic. There's a family of instruments there called X-Rite CI6X. So I'm going to begin by selecting that. Now, depending on what kind of instrument you're connecting, you'll have different options in this screen. For me, I can select which model of the CI6X series I'm using. Mine is, as I mentioned, a CI64 UV. We have the ability to select a transform if I need to make this instrument behave like something else. I don't in my case. The trigger style is set to foot, which means that this instrument works kind of like a stapler. When I close it, when I press it closed, that's the foot triggering the measurement. So I'll go ahead and hit next. Now I have a chance to name my spectro, whatever I want to call it. I'm going to call it Tim's Spectro. And you'll see it has a place for the serial number, but that's automatically determined. So as soon as they talk to each other, the software and the instrument in just a moment, that will be determined. How am I connecting? USB in this case. Some instruments have serial, some instruments have Bluetooth. We're going to use USB in our situation. And then finally I'm going to hit finish. It's going to always do a predefined calibration mode, and we'll look at those modes in just a moment. But we're going to hit finish here. It's going to go out and try to talk to the instrument for a moment. And it appears that it worked because we got no error messages in response. So now, if I go back to this installer configure, you can see my Spectro. It's pulled the serial number of the instrument there, right? And I can choose now to set calibration modes. And the default calibration mode is simply using the instrument in its default state. Let's click on Modify to see all the options here. Again, depending on your instrument, what type of instrument you have, you'll have different options. For example, you'll see there's transmittance, several transmittance and haze measurements. Those are grayed out because I can't do those with a handheld instrument. If I had a benchtop instrument, I'd have those options. I can choose on this instrument which port I'm using because it's switchable between a 14 and a 6mm aperture. I can choose whether or not to calibrate the UV energy. I can choose the calibration interval. By default, it's 240 minutes or 4 hours. So we're going to leave it there in its default state, and then we're going to go ahead and click on the word calibrate here if we wanted to calibrate at this point. I'm going to not do it that way and show you how I might do it in more normal use. So I'm going to open up a job, which is a place where I store measurements. And there are icons up here to select a calibration mode, to calibrate the Spectro, to do measurements. And even if I try to measure and I'm not calibrated, the software will force a calibration on me. But I'm going to choose to calibrate the Spectro. In the current mode, you'll see it says, press OK, then calibrate Spectro following on-screen instructions. And it's talking about the on-screen instructions of the instrument, which right now says to me, white calibration, select next to continue. I'm going to go over here and hit next. And it says measure white plaque. So the calibration standard has a white plaque. I remove its protective cover, place the instrument on top, press down. The lights indicate that it's measuring the calibration plaque. The beep means that it was successful. And it now on the instrument says measure black trap. So I'm going to rotate this, put the cover back on so I don't, damage my plaque. And now measure this, what's called a light trap. Calibrating black, and the calibration is now complete. We've got a check mark on the screen. And if I come back to the software and click on OK, calibration is complete. My instrument is now talking to the software. It's ready for me to do measurements. If you need to know how to measure standards and measure trials, please see our video that will walk you through that process. Thank you.